I will call this council listening session to order. Thanks to everybody for being here. Sally, you were pre-registered. And I see Sean back there. You didn't pre-register. I just want to make sure are you here to speak? No? Okay. Sounds good. Sally, you're the show this evening. We have 10 minutes and we'll be on our way.
Yeah. So today I'm talking about 3 examples of current concerns. At the last listening session, I asked if there was a DRC meeting. Mayor replies, I don't know if there was one in that case. I think we were going to look into that. I had first asked the mayor on February 7th, 2023, almost an entire month before the listening session on March 6th. This same email was sent to planning and the city council. Either there was a DRC meeting or there was not. It is a simple yes or no question. Almost a month later, the mayor replies, I don't know if there was one in that case. Since the question was asked February 7th, the mayor and council should have known before the March 6th listening session if there was a meeting or not and why. The planner assigned to the request to add retail and medical office to R1 should have known upon being asked if there was a DRC meeting. And if they did not, the mayor and council should be concerned. If they did and did not provide the answer, that is a concern too. At the listening session, the first listening session, April 25th, 2022, I asked about a question a former council member asked July 2nd, 2012. Council member said, the cup is a contract, and asked if it's fraud when someone makes representations to entice someone to make a contract and then they don't follow through with what they promised. A former city attorney replied, Mr. Aziz probably didn't have legal authority to make representations he did during the CUP hearing. Mr. Aziz did have legal authority, and legal and planning should have known. And if they did not, that is a concern. And if they did and did not provide the correct answer, that is a concern too. Again, Mr. Aziz did have legal authority, and the city manager, mayor, and council should have known. And if they did not, that is a concern. And if they did and did not provide the correct answer, that is a concern too. In 2022, when the current council was informed that the former city attorney inaccurately stated Mr. Aziz probably didn't have legal authority to make representations he did during the CUP hearing, the current city attorney provides the name of another person who signed the site development agreement, which was superseded by the amended and restated site development agreement that Hyder Aziz signed. The city manager also sent an email that omitted the development application Hyder signed, and the minutes that identify Hyder Aziz as the applicant and the amended and restated site development agreement that Hyder Aziz signed, and instead provided the same document the city attorney read the name from that was superseded by the amended and restated site development agreement that Hyder Aziz signed. The city attorney and city manager should have both known Hyder Aziz signed an agreement that superseded the agreement another person signed, and that Hyder Aziz did represent the building. And if they did not, that is a concern. And if they did and did not provide the correct answer, that is a concern too. The mayor and council were also sent the amended and restated site development agreement that Hyder Aziz signed, along with the development application that Hyder signed and the minutes that identified Hyder as the applicant. And they should have known that Hyder Aziz did represent the building. And if they did not, that is a concern. And if they did and did not provide the correct answer, that is a concern too. Last week, I sent an email requesting correction to the minutes from December 19, 2022 that state Council Member D'Alessandro, sorry.
That's okay. Happens all the time.
Shared screenshots of photos referenced at a prior listening session as having ended up on Islamophobic websites. This is what she shared. Two pictures of parking and two pictures of the attorney speaking at a city council meeting. The council member could not have shared screenshots of photos referenced because the photos the attorney took are not online. The mayor was inaccurate when he stated he was posting pictures on anti-Islamic websites, and the council was inaccurate saying they ended up online. The mayor and council have not seen the photos the attorney took because they are not online, and saying so is knowingly providing inaccurate information, and that is a concern.
So the one question I heard in there was again regarding the DRC, and assuming Mr. Verbrugge has an answer.
We do. It was, the DRC is for development review, and the issues that are related to that property didn't come before the DRC because it wasn't a development. So,
Yep.
City Attorney.
The DRC focuses on development review. So code amendments are not generally brought before the DRC. The exception would be a code amendment that directly relates to the DRC process and alters the DRC, seeks to alter the DRC review process that would come before the DRC. So a little bit of a nuance there, but I think the cleanest way to think about it is if there's something sort of coming out of the ground, it's likely going to go to DRC. Whereas if it's a general code amendment related to zoning or commission structure or wastewater or something like that, it's not going to go before the DRC.
Thank you.
I do think the Freak Center had a DRC.
I don't know if that's the case or not, but in this case, you just heard the answer as to why there was not a DRC review of this
Right.
project. So we're good with that?
Well, again,
Are you,
comment,
did you hear the answer though?
my comment again in here, if you heard what I was saying, it did not make sense that I didn't get an answer. It did not make sense before you had the meeting and that before you guys voted that there wasn't, it's just a simple question.
It didn't come up before we voted because it wasn't part of the process. So that's why it didn't come up with before it voted. We didn't have the answer, and I apologize. We didn't get the answer for you quickly enough.
Well,
And it wasn't quick enough. I'll get that. But to be honest, Sally, it just didn't rise to the top of the priority list.
right. And so now it is a conversation in that the concern is the dismissiveness of it at this point where I'm saying, wait a minute, but the Freak Center had one because they were changing the FD-2 zone to include uses that previously weren't allowed. This is similar, including uses that previously weren't allowed. And so, why the difference?
And we're not going to dig in and banter back and forth about all of it.
I thought that's what a listening session was for.
It is, but Sally, no matter what we answer, it's going to continue the conversation.
And
It was determined
that.
it was determined by city staff that it was not required in this process.
Right, and that's the confusion about me asking the question. I think my first email was back in January, and then I asked the specific question in an email, I think it was the night that you guys were voting, and I received a response that I'd have a response that week, and I didn't, and then I come to the meeting, and it was still a confusion if there was a DRC meeting, and
I apologize for
And
the
it's-
confusion, and I apologize for the delay, but the answer, it has been asked and answered now, Sally.
right, and so now the new question is, why was there, now you'll have to look, but I believe there was a DRC meeting before the Freak Center, and now there wasn't a DRC meeting before here. It appears kind of subjective. I mean, I don't know, I'd have to investigate, but I got the list of DRC meetings last year, and it varied too much. It did seem like whether a planner wanted to have one or not, not sure. When you read the city, on the city website, it sounds like everything has a DRC meeting before, and then some don't require one post, but it sounds like everything requires one pre.
And we just heard from the city attorney, that's not the case.
Right, because it sounds like because she said there was no development, which I'd question because there is a development, because they had 11% as office. They were only allowed 10%, but they had 11% at the time, and they were going to develop it to 20%. So that is a development. So again, I question.
Sally, we're at the point once again where you've asked the question, you're an answer, you don't like the answer that you received, and so you continue.
Not that I don't like the answer. I'm asking more questions to understand it further.
That was a CUP.
What you're referencing was a conditional use permit. It's an entirely different situation. That's why.
Okay, so they will not need a conditional use permit because this one was a permitted use. So the other required a conditional use permit, and so that's why they had it. And so this one, because it was a change that is allowing a permitted use, and so they'll be able to develop it without, you get where I'm going, how you're like, the one has a bit more detail to it because it has a conditional use, but here it's a conditional use where you're allowing now a permitted use, which to me I would say to the city, I think that deserves more of a conversation because now it's actually a permitted use. Normandale is permitted to have 20% of their campus.
Sally, we're past our 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Some folks came in a bit late. Are you wishing to speak to us this evening?
This is kind of a spur of the moment thing. She was wanting to talk about the ADU issue, but I understand that's an agenda.
That's an agenda item, so we generally don't talk about this here.
I do just have like a question.
Come on up, please.
Are we speaking about ADUs tonight, or are we just talking about single use, second family?
My guess is it's probably being used
Okay.
interchangeably right now.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The multifamily, yeah. If you could just identify yourself so we have it for the record.
Sure. Do you want me to say it out loud or just, okay. So it's Marie Merriam, 8393 Knox Avenue South. I have saved the little crime map for many, many months. And I just looked back, I'm in area 2 or zone 2, whatever you call it. And it has more than doubled. It used to be down in the single digits and then it, crept up and up and up. And I'm just wondering what's being done about the crime.
I will have to look specifically in your area, but I know that citywide, we are in the 4th year in a row where city crime statistics are coming down.
Well, not.
Not in your area. I mean, if it's not in your area, that's right. Then then crime is not coming down. I get that. So we'll, what I'd like to do is connect you with folks in our police department to talk specifically about that. I know that we are refocused on crime and have been over the past couple of years. It, like everywhere in the United States, it spiked during the pandemic and we dealt with some issues. We're, I think, doing.
It's continued to go up.
We're
Yes, it is. I didn't bring the newspapers with me, but yeah,
Mr. Mayor and council members, our
Bring it.
crime statistics in 2022 are 25% lower than they were 4 years before.
Is that?
I'm talking in the last like 9 months.
Yes.
It's doubled. Yeah.
It's gone down each year. I can show you the statistics.
Okay. You can certainly send them to me. I would appreciate it. And I will scan all my little maps. If you look in the current, they're in there.
Yeah. I think if I may,
Please.
since I'm your council member.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. I'm Lona.
Hi, Lona.
Sal, depending on which of the crime statistics
It's
you're
like the
talking about.
burglary or theft. I don't
Yeah,
really.
you're right near Southtown,
Mhm.
and that's in zone 2, and Southtown, especially the Coles there in Southtown, has had a lot of shoplifting and theft problems. They know about it, but unfortunately what's going on there, and I only know this because of ride-alongs and things like that, is that the folks at Coles will refuse to prosecute. So all they do is trespass people. And so essentially what they're doing is allowing anybody who wants to go in there to steal something. And if they don't get caught, they can just come back until they get caught. And then the only thing that happens to them is trespass. So unfortunately, it's just people know that it's a spot that is targetable.
Thievable.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So I don't know if that's the
actually,
case, but I think that might make sense in what you're looking at on the map.
Okay. Yeah, because it was down in the single digits, no
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, I'm in that neighborhood too. I totally understand.
Yeah, and it was up to like 22, 23, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like more than double.
And I guess the good news might be that if we're tracking them, that means we're catching them more often too, which is a positive, that.
Right, but last night, my friend was at Walgreens on 98th and Lindale, and she actually witnessed
Yeah,
Yeah, two
shoplifting.
yeah,
black
Rolled out.
grocery bags,
rolled right out with them.
filling them up, and the employee said, get out. And I said, aren't you gonna call the police? They said, they'll be gone.
So it just at the 10,000 foot level, something to keep an eye out after the first full year. So this budget, as the mayor alluded to, has probably the biggest single investments in the Bloomington Police Department we've had. decades at this point. New squad cars, additional hiring, resources for the jail downstairs that can process people more efficiently. So after a year of that, to the point of retail theft is through the roof, so the corporations can't figure it out. But pairing that with more patrols, more visible presence, what that does to make people think twice before they do the revolving door again. So a little bit of time, I think.
Yeah, so on, whoever's going to get back to me with their statistics, I would like a breakdown of residential versus retail.
Yeah. Which I think is important in Bloomington.
Pardon me?
That is important in Bloomington.
To know the
To break it
difference.
out, to break it out, especially because we have.
The Mall of America.
America.
Yeah, and that's always, that's now up into the 40s. But
Would you mind making sure we get your
Yeah.
contact info there and we'll get that information to you. Very good.
Marie, do you have additional questions or?
no,
Okay, yeah, we'll get back to you with the information and the crime statistics. And I know I think I've got the sheet on my desk at home actually that shows the numbers. So, but I certainly understand if you're standing there at Walgreens and see that happen, I mean, it's crime is an issue. And it doesn't matter where
reading the newspaper.
doesn't matter where the numbers,
So it's not just,
if it happens to you or if you see it, yeah, crime is an issue. And I get that, understand. All right,
Thank you very much for bringing it up.
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
And thanks for the input, council members. Appreciate your input on it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody else here, council? I'd look for a motion to adjourn. So
Second?
motion and a second to adjourn our listening session this evening. All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? We are adjourned. We will see you downstairs.